those bureaucrats sitting on their ass in an office deciding what's right versus what's wrong by making a law, I don't agree with. I did the right thing by going afield and killing an elk for Clendon. Hi folks, Tim Sundles here with my beautiful wife Kim filming on her iPhone. We're in one of our trucks. We have some construction going on at the house right now and it's kind of noisy. And this video is something I've wanted to do for a while. I explained in our 7mm Remington Mag video and our 338 video, which the 338 video is in the queue. It won't come on to YouTube for another 2 or 3 weeks. This video will follow it. I wanted to explain the difference between ethics and legalities. And you know, Kim is an ex-elected district attorney, and I was dating Kim while she was a DA, and one of the things that she used to complain about, and often it was with fish and game cases, in fact I think it was always with fish and game cases, was what's legal may not always be right and what's right may not always be legal, which means basically if it's illegal, it can be the right thing to do. It just depends on the situation. And she talked about a case that she got in her office once where an unemployed man who had a couple of kids and a wife, in January, they were hungry. He didn't have an income sufficient to provide for his family for the moment. He went out and shot a doe, for meat. And he got caught. And of course, Fish and Game wanted to hang him, electrocute him, beat him, imprison him, how Fish and Game is. And Kim was the prosecutor, and she's like, well, all the guy did was shoot a doe to feed his family. I mean, he lost his job. It's the middle of winter. Give the guy a break. Well, of course, Fish and Game throws a tizzy fit when a prosecutor has that attitude. So I want to talk for a minute about what's right versus what's wrong versus what's legal or illegal. I claimed in my 7mm Magnum video that I've killed at least 100 bull elk. Well, I have, and I've killed cows too, cow elk as well, that I wasn't even counting in that 100 number figure. Let me explain a couple things. I used to have not when I lived in this house, but I was still in the Salmon River Valley. I had a neighbor named Clendon, and Clendon was a hunter, and Clendon lived on elk meat most of his life. He was married, had kids. His kids all grew up, moved away. And Clendon, when he got in his mid to late 70s, he just couldn't climb the mountains anymore. His vision wasn't good. His health wasn't good, but he still wanted elk meat. So Clendon would go buy an elk tag. And then it was up to either me or one other neighbor that always looked after elderly people to go fill that elk tag and then deliver the meat to Clendon. And you know what? Fish and Game says that's illegal, that's poaching, that's this, that's, wrong, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Those bureaucrats sitting on their ass in an office deciding what's right versus what's wrong by making a law, I don't agree with. I did the right thing by going afield and killing an elk for Clendon. Not only that, my kids would all buy tags. My then wife would buy a tag, and if they didn't want to go hunting with me, I would fill those tags and give the meat to needy people. And believe me, fresh, mountain-raised, wild elk meat is the easiest thing on the planet to give away. Especially in an area like this, that's very rural, where people will jump at the chance to have elk meat. I never charged a dime. I gave it to needy people. Now, and it was always tagged. And by the way, a hunting license And an elk tag or a deer tag or a bear tag is a tax. I mean, that's what it is. And I just kind of felt like for needy people, if I tagged it and delivered the meat to them, that I was doing the right thing. Laws be damned. I was doing a good thing. Plus, I got to go be outdoors and hunt, which, I really enjoyed. So maybe there is a selfish aspect to it. But let me show you some of the inconsistencies and contradictions. And I'm just going to stick with fish and game today. But in government in general, I mean, for example, it was our fish and game Director Conley in, I think, 1993 or 4 that signed the permit to allow the feds to bring wolves in here. Now, those wolves, and I've seen this with my own eyes, don't tell me how wrong I am. I live here, I'm out in the woods all the time. Those wolves would get the elk in the deep snow, and they might kill 20 elk or more for every elk they actually ate. Now that's wanton waste, any way you cut it. And if I go out here and kill an elk in the wilderness, and somehow a fish and game cop manages to find it, and I don't take the rib meat, which is pretty useless. If you can shoot an elk in a pasture and go load it with your tractor and hang it and skin it, you can salvage things like rib meat and neck meat. But if you kill a wilderness elk, where you're going to have to butcher it in the mountains and take several trips backpacking it out to a trailhead, or as I do, usually with horses, pack out the quarters, I mean, the rib meat and the neck meat is useless. You get it so dirty, you get so much hair and grass and dirt on it that it's not salvageable. You're better off letting the magpies and the crows and the coyotes and the foxes eat it, or the grizzly bears or the black bears.
Which means it's not waste.
Yeah, which means it's not wasted. Thank you, Kim, because she's been complaining about that ever since she started hunting.
Nothing in nature is wasted, folks. I think we all know that. That's common sense. But we've created laws that call it waste. Waste for what? Waste for humans? Because something's eating it.
Yeah, and so they're fish and game, they're a bunch of hypocrites. We'll bring wolves in that pull elk down, kill them for the sport. They call it surplus reflex killing. Okay, it's sport killing. And that's okay. But if a human shoots an elk and doesn't salvage every little scrap of meat, even though in the wilderness the meat is wasted, because you get it so dirty and hairy and everything, you'll get a ticket for it. What a bunch of sloppy, crappy hypocrites. And then, for example, like when COVID was here, they closed down the fish and game office over COVID. You couldn't go in there and buy a license or a tag. You had to go to a vendor, a gun shop or a sporting goods shop, to buy their license and tag. And they're fine with the people at the gun shop getting COVID or the people at the sporting goods shop getting COVID, long as they don't get COVID. What a bunch of crap eating hypocrites. I mean, and I could go on and on about stuff that Fish and Game does. I'll leave you with one story of a righteous law breaking that I did. And it didn't involve Clendon. It was another neighbor who got elderly and got cataracts. And he loved elk meat. And he grew up hunting. And he just wasn't in good enough shape to hike either. But he didn't have health insurance. He couldn't afford insurance on his cataracts. I mean, it's expensive surgery. And his vision got so bad that he would get these depredation tags from Fish and Game because he had a lot of property. He was a rancher. And those elk, I mean, if you get a herd of 100 elk, they're not small like a deer. They're bigger. And you get a herd of 100 elk coming down and feeding on your alfalfa field every night, all night long. Guess what? You're going to lose thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in crop damage. So the last year he tried to kill depredation elk, he missed, he just couldn't see well enough, and he wounded one or two that ran off wounded, and nobody likes to see that. So he came to me and he said, Tim, would you do me a favor? I've got 2 depredation cow elk tags. He said, could you come over to my place tomorrow morning? The elk are in there every night, and shoot the 2 cows and we'll tag them. And that will be meat for my wife and I for the year.
So let's ask the question, everyone. Is that just a horrible act of illegality that he's committing to graciously request a neighbor to help him out to feed his family? Is that illegal? Should that be illegal? So that's the question we need to start paying attention to.
Well, yeah. And of course, I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if the statute of limitations has run out on this one. He's still alive. But that's the kind of thing I would do, and that's how I've killed so many elk. Never mind, I would go to various states and hunt elk. I've killed elk in Colorado and Oregon and Washington and Idaho and Montana. New Mexico, trying to think where else I've killed elk. I think that's it. But so I've, in some years I would hunt 3 or 4 states in the same year. So to, again, get on the internet and call me a liar is a pretty moronic thing to do. When you don't know me, you don't know my life, and you don't know my history. I'm 67 years old. Hell, just hunting one state and doing everything by the book, I could have killed over 50 elk by now if I killed one every year. So you guys need to learn manners, digital manners, and learn to approach people just like you're talking to them face to face, because you'd never be that rude to somebody face to face, unless you just were looking for a butt kicking, which is a waste. We need
to bring that back too.
Well, that's just a waste of everybody's time. I mean, really, it's
kind of fun, actually.
Well, I suppose it could serve a purpose. I've been there a couple times. But
I enjoyed it. I used to, in high school, we had every week Bobby Tenuto, and this is in Ledyard, Connecticut, where I grew up. Yeah, it's disgusting to think of that. Connecticut. Ugh. But anyway, Bobby Tenuto, every week, he would have his little fight that he would choose whoever it was going to be that he would fight. And we'd all run down to that area and watch the fight. And they'd just punch the shit out of each other. And it was hilarious. Nobody got put in the hospital, it wasn't horrible. It was just, they just fought for a little while, and we all accepted it, and the school knew about it, and the parents knew about it. And what is wrong with people? If it's consensual, enjoy it.
Well,
anyway,
yeah, a whole different subject. I mean, when grown men fight, people can get killed.
Absolutely. But if it's consensual, it's consensual.
Well, I don't disagree. It's a different video. I just want to talk about how a guy like me has killed over 100 elk, 100 bulls, never mind the cows I've killed. And, for a while, even in Idaho, you could buy 2 elk tags a year and go out and shoot 2 just in the state of Idaho. So, folks, the government is full of hypocrisy. The government is full of dishonesty. And let's not ever confuse what's legal with what is actually right.
Moral and ethically.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Kim's not a prosecutor anymore. The government's too corrupt for her. She can't fake it till she makes it. It's too corrupt. She has too much of a conscience to be a part of the corruption. And if she was ever going to practice law again, it would be a criminal defense attorney.
If we all were to follow our moral and ethical guidelines in our heart and souls, instead of what has been written by a bunch of shitheads.
They're ass-sitting bureaucrats.
That we don't even vote for. Let's be honest, folks. We aren't voting for these people. They're being put in place. They're dictating what we can and cannot do. We need to together stand up, unite, and do what we know is morally and ethically correct. And as long as we stay within our soul and hearts, morally and ethically, that's the compass we should live by, all of us.
So anyway, folks, I can't say it any better than that. We hope you have a good day. We'll see you on the next video. God bless.